Well, it couldn't have come soon enough. Let's begin. Well, brace yourselves, because it looks like the police have finally done their job. And instead of making those protesters cups of tea, they've actually nicked 60 of them. Which, let's face it, probably surprised the life out of them. So what did they do? Did they push a few statues over? Chuck their orange wee over buildings? Well, strangely no. This time they apparently, after marching through London, no doubt at a snail's pace of course, they then laid down on the ground in Parliament Square. And whilst, some may say, well, that sounds like a peaceful protest to me, it probably actually wasn't, for the amount of drivers they more than likely held up, and now the police must have stopped eating their donuts and read their emails or whatever to realise that they can now use the law that the government brought in where people can get nicked if they stop traffic, and things like that. But of course, for activist Victoria Lindsay, who is 68, said, "We will stop the moment Rishi Sunak listens to our demands," which are no new licences for fossil fuels. Protesters were seen as well wearing their orange high-vis vests, and many were placed in handcuffs by officers after refusing to move from the area. But the Metropolitan Police said that officers take into account a person's right to protest before making an arrest. But if a demonstrator disproportionately interferes with traffic transport infrastructure, an arrest can be made under Section 7 of the Public Order Act. But the thing is, why are they actually even protesting? Because they surely know that in 2035 that there's going to be a massive new petrol and diesel car ban. Well, of course, if it doesn't get pushed back, it is. So the amount of oil that will be used should be reduced dramatically, shouldn't it? And as well, EV sales seem to be growing year on year. So isn't that enough for them, knowing that one day we're not going to be using as much oil? But let's face it, we can't just stop using oil overnight, can we? And actually thinking about it, I'm betting that most of these people, or protesters in general, actually use petrol, diesel, power cars or vans to get to their demonstrations anyway, making a complete mockery of the whole thing. And don't they realise that by walking on the road slowly, they are in fact making drivers use more oil by travelling at a snail's pace? Oh, I guess that logic has probably escaped them, hasn't it? But anyway, the article says that campaigner Matt Cunningham, who was 26, said he was taking part because the government had blatantly ignored our own climate advisors. Mr. Cunningham from Suffolk added, "I have a 5-month-old nephew and I can't face the thought that his future is destroyed by people who just don't care and just want profit." Anita Kemp, who was 61, who was on holiday in London from Switzerland, said she thought the protest in Parliament Square would not change anything. "We should just ignore them. It doesn't achieve anything protesting like that," she added. Just Stop Oil posted on social media that 65 people were part of a march to demand an end to new oil and gas. They added that a post on X, formerly of course known as Twitter, saying that ordinary people are in the road at Parliament Square calling on our government's genonical policy of new fossil fuels. While something has come out and it looks like Sadiq Khan's ULEZ expansion is causing more stir than a beehive in a windstorm. I mean, picture this, the ULEZ cash cow is guzzling £715,000 per day, and it's not sparing a thought for the poor souls driving their ageing cars that don't make the emissions cut. They're getting smacked the hardest, aren't they? It's like paying a toll for having an old faithful vehicle. And every day around 57,200 drivers cough up £12.50 just to take their wheels for a spin, and wait for it, a whopping 2,696 fines are slapped on drivers every 24 hours. It's like the fines are coming down faster than London rain, isn't it? And the cherry on top? Well, if you're quick on the draw and pay up within 14 days, then you get a discount of £90. But thinking about it, another way to look at it would be if you don't pay within 14 days and you get £90 slapped on, which, if anything, does not sound very good value to me, and is what I like to call a limited time offer on fines. But the Tory candidate Susan Hill is pointing fingers, calling it a tax grab, and Minister for London Paul Scully is rallying to shut down those ULEZ cameras. He's shouting, "Enough is enough! Switch off those lenses." And to be honest, I don't blame the guy, because let's face it, people who are driving the oldest cars are probably barely scraping by financially, and are the ones who this is hitting the hardest the most, aren't they? But no, of course, Sadiq Khan claims that this is all about freshening up the air. But what about the money vacuum in action, eh, Sadiq? People are starting to wonder if all this cash is actually going to magically pave the streets with gold, or perhaps, I don't know, gift us with flying cars. I mean, he's got to be doing something with it, isn't he? And of course, the mayor insists that it is making a real difference, but will we actually feel the difference? I've got a feeling probably not. And come 2035, when new petrol and diesel cars are scheduled to hit the history books, ULEZ might just come the relic of the past as well, possibly replaced with a pay-by-miles scheme, I'm guessing. Which, if anything, I'm guessing they'll probably label as a convenient coincidence. Because let's face it, it's like looking into a crystal ball and foreseeing a future filled with more car chargers down the road. And of course, they're saying that the deal is supposed to be about cleaner air, but couldn't they cut some slack to those struggling during this cost of living squeeze? I mean, what's next? Charging us for the number of potholes we dodge or something? I mean, who knows? I mean, they should be helping people in the middle of a cost of living crisis, shouldn't they? Not be hitting them with what is essentially ripping them off with another tax. I mean, he could have paused the rollout until all the costs have eased, but no, of course not. He's chosen not to. It just makes me wonder how much improvement we'll see on the roads and trains with the extra money that he's getting. My guess is probably not a lot. And let's face it, ULEZ will be utterly pointless after 2035 when the new petrol and diesel car ban arrives. But anyway, the article says that Mr. Khan said, "I've always said that the decision to expand the ULEZ was very difficult." Yeah, I bet it was for him. But a month on from the expansion, we can already see that it is working. London is now the home to the world's largest clean air zone, and the new data shows that 95% of vehicles seen driving in London on the average day now comply with our air quality standards, a 10 percentage point increase since I began to consult on the ULEZ expansion in May last year. And of course, he goes on, "This will make a huge difference to the lives and health of Londoners." TfL's Director of Strategy and Policy, Christina Colorado, said, "It's great to see that 95% of vehicles driving in the capital comply with the scheme's transformative air quality standards. The ULEZ is highly effective in taking the oldest, most pollutant vehicles off the roads. And also, don't forget, Christina, it's effective in taking money out of people's pockets as well. Don't you forget that." What do you know, it looks like there's a bit of trouble brewing in the world of the BBC iPlayer. The word is that some of you fine folks may be facing a tough time catching up on your much-loved BBC programmes through the iPlayer app, or probably 3 or 4 of you that actually watch the BBC, that is, I'm guessing. And the reason for this, well, it seems there's a little bit of trouble with a widespread error, if you will, causing a bit of a problem. So here's the thing, the BBC, much like Netflix, Crew and the other streaming big shots, use a little bit of technology to basically play bouncer at the iPlayer doors. They usually make sure that only the good old UK folks would get the VIP treatment actually allowed in. But the thing is, this is now affecting those people who actually do have a TV licence, so that doesn't exactly look good for you, does it, BBC? But you always know there's some cheeky people from abroad who try and weasel their way in as well. So they try and think they're really slick by masking their foreign IP addresses to look like they belong in the UK to get a sneak peek at the British television. Now, normally the technology in place sniffs out these sneaky manoeuvres and gives these people the good old heave-ho. However, it seems this clever system is having a bit of a wobble. Instead of just giving the boot into the people abroad, it's now mistakenly sending some valid UK viewers packing too, which obviously isn't what people pay their TV licence for, is it, BBC? And it seems like the BBC has noticed this, because let's face it, they probably want to keep their viewing drops to a minimum, don't they? So they can probably justify the TV licence funding, I'm guessing. The thing is though, the BBC have spotted that users are being wrongly tagged as located outside the UK, and slapping them with an error message 02066. It's like going out in style, isn't it? But apparently they reckon they've got the top-notch investigators on the case, promising to spill the beans and update everyone as soon as they crack the code. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, a VPN basically hides your IP address and essentially makes you safer online, in my opinion, because it means that people can't actually track you or get access to your IP details and things like that. But while they're trying to fix this issue, they have apparently suggested a workaround, saying that users should consider swapping it to a different network if you've got that option handy. And probably, unfortunately for them in their eyes, there isn't actually a quick fix just yet. But either way though, if the BBC does actually value people who do pay the TV licence, which to be honest you could have filled me with the amount of money they seem to waste, but either way, people shouldn't have to put up with this sort of crap, should they? And actually thinking about it, BBC, if you just went in the adverts or subscription route, you wouldn't need any of this crap to begin with, would you? But anyway, the article says, although it is encouraged that you should disable any proxy servers or virtual private networks, VPNs, from the BBC standards, I'm guessing that is, you may be using according to ISP review. It's because of these often assign a non-UK IP address to devices and households instead of relying on the address given to you by the internet provider. If you have neither of these set up, then enabling a VPN that connects to a UK server might actually help the BBC's technology recognise your devices as ones that are allowed to watch iPlayer. So they're actually thinking about it, is hitting people who don't actually have VPNs. So come on BBC, sort it out, because otherwise I'm guessing more people are just going to cancel their TV licences. Hang on a minute. Why am I even saying this? Well, thinking about it, BBC, if you are having trouble, then, what a shame, hey? I guess that may lead to cancellations. And let's face it, the more cancellations there are, the more likely that the TV licence might actually get the boot before 2027. Although, to be honest, thinking about it, I've probably got more chance of taking Amanda Holden on a date than that happening.